Well, I want you to talk about the situation and what you described in the script here, and then I'm going to interpret if that's okay, because I want to give proper context to this. And it was, yeah, I don't know if it's a too strong a term, but it sickened me to watch that. It was sickening.
So, okay then, Joseph Park, episode 1, Bruce Prichard just came across as so feared, and he comes across as so feared because he looks like somebody who will get rid of you, who will fire you if you annoy him. Abyss is profusely apologising to Prichard. Now, let me just back that up in one sec. The match went 2.5 minutes long. Earlier in the episode, Bruce Prichard, in a talking head interview, is saying, hey, well, just because we're on Netflix doesn't mean you can't go long, that kind of thing. And it's like, you're on Netflix, that means you can go as long as you want. There are no... Every episode after the fact has gone whatever length it's needed to for the show. I mean, they've differed by like half an hour to an hour, some of these shows, so that wasn't a problem. But for whatever reason, they apparently had hard out of 3 hours, 29 minutes or something for the first episode. And Abyss is trying to get Seth and CM Punk moving. Cut out this bit. Please hurry up. We have to get to the next bit. We've got a hard out. And then, in the end, the match goes about 2 minutes, 20 seconds over. 2 minutes, 30 seconds over. Something like that. Bruce Prichard, in Unreal, the documentary, he's standing, glaring at Abyss the entire time. As Abyss is trying to concentrate on the match, trying to tell the people in the truck whatever, trying to tell the referee to hurry up, cut things out, cut out the Anaconda Vice, cut out other things. We're finally going home, thank goodness. Don't worry, Bruce. Constantly apologising to Bruce at the same time. Afterwards, everyone's applauding and, we've finally done the first show. And Abyss goes straight up to Bruce, apologising profusely. He says, Bruce responds with, well, it was overwritten, it was overproduced, it's fine. And then William
It's
Regal...
fine is the scariest part of that.
Yeah. Abyss then is comforted by William Regal. Abyss says, I'm not beating myself up, I just want to make this man, Bruce Prichard, happy, that's all. Is he mad at me? And Regal just calms him down more and just said, look, make me happy by being happy with the job you did. So Regal saying, being a nice person, and Bruce Prichard is doing the, on the surface, yeah, it's fine. You did everything wrong, but it's fine.
I'll say it again, as I say it a million times, and this kind of personifies what I'm about to say. This stuff is hard enough without people and things like this and situations like this making it even more difficult and making you even more stressed out to go back to the hotel room with, well, he said it's fine. What does that mean? And that tone was, it's fine. I'm going to go bury you kind of thing. This might have been the best segment, the most real segment of the Unreal stuff. This was a real moment here. And unfortunately, it was a real moment for Chris, for Abyss, for Joseph Parks, whatever you want to call him. I've been around Bruce Prichard maybe a handful of times, maybe a little bit more than that. He's one of those people. Have you ever been around anybody? I'm asking you, James, and everybody out there. Have you ever been around anybody and you're just like, I need to get out of here, away from this person and away from this whole area as quickly as humanly possible? That's what it's like to be around Bruce Prichard and staring a hole in the guy that's actually telling the wrestlers and they're not listening to him. And you're staring a hole in him as he's pleading with these people, trying to do his job, and you're there, and somehow, some way, I zoomed in on it as Abyss is flustered and talking to him and trying to explain it. And when Bruce said those 3 lines to him, it was, well, I'm just looking right here. Excuse me. Oh, it was overrated and overproduced, lower tone, it's fine. I sensed somewhat of a morbid pleasure in Bruce that he was getting Abyss all worked up. And if he's ribbing Abyss, whatever. But it felt more than a rib to me. It felt like he took pleasure in making Abyss go back to the room, sweat it out, and just literally be on the verge of tears in a way. And maybe evil is hyperbole, but I've been around some really, really dark, seedy, type of off-putting individuals in my wrestling career during my entire wrestling existence. And Bruce is one of those people that I could not wait to get away from. Just never had a good vibe from that guy.
Yeah, that one really stood out to me, that. Because it's right. It wasn't... He's called Chris Parks, not Joseph Parks. It's Christopher Joseph Parks. I can never remember which one's his real first name. But he's doing everything he can to speed them up. Short of Abyss walking out to the ringside and shaking his tie around, what do you want him to do?
Yeah. And I know for a fact here, I don't know if I can't remember if it was shown or not. Bruce, because they're two top guys, will suck up and kiss their ass and hug them. Oh, yeah, great job, everybody. Great job, doing his half Roddy Piper impersonation. Oh, great job, great job. You know, Chris messed everything up at this night, but you guys covered for it. Trying to be funny, but in the same way, showing what an insincere, two-faced person that this guy is. And that's why he's been in that company for so long. And that's why he's been in wrestling for so long.
You see, for me, and I imagine a lot of people out there, we know Bruce best from, you know, his podcast with Conrad. And he's, you know, jovial to a point. He's funny. He's witty. He's got a great memory for what he believes happened in some of the things he said, anyway, which are fairly. I mean, even Conrad, you know, would push back on certain things.
Well, here's the thing about him. Here's the thing about him. He and Paul, him and Paul Heyman, I don't know if they're still best friends, but they've been best friends for many years in the past. They're like twin brothers when it comes to the wrestling business. Jovial, disarming. I'm not doubting Bruce's mind for the business. His ability to do a job under immense pressure under Vince McMahon. He was Vince's right-hand man for multiple stints throughout the wrestling business. So I'm not discounting. We're separating the person from what we're looking at. Of course, this blends together, but both of these guys, Bruce and Paul, jovial, outwardly friendly, disarming, almost a forced friendliness. It never seemed quite genuine from either one of these guys. But what I saw, especially when they were over jovial and out there and smile, a grin effing you, that's what I call it. It felt like there was such a dark side to both of these guys that can come out.
Is there anybody who takes the party line? And once again, I'm using the party line as Big Brother WWE style. The WWE party line more than Bruce. Is he just completely indoctrinated? And didn't you even say at one point, you know, look, when Vince McMahon left, Bruce was still there.
Yeah, to me, that's the biggest mystery of all. Bruce and Michael Hayes are Vince McMahon yes men. They're right there. I mean, Bruce, Vince Russo tells me, Bruce loves Vince like a father. So you got to give him that, I guess. But for them to still be there during the Triple H era, I don't know. That's why it lent to all these different theories that Vince still had something to do with WWE, because why would those two guys be there? TKO, Endeavor. Kevin Dunn's not even there, and Kevin Dunn, dare I say it, would have more of a function being the director of these TV shows, or at least handing it off to another director and training them for a couple of years than these two guys. So I don't want to see anybody out of a job, but we keep saying that, but really, what did they do? What did Bruce do in this segment except add stress and anxiety to an already stressful and anxiety-ridden segment?
So what does he do in WWE?
I don't know. I don't know.
He must do something. Because
he yells at Abyss. He makes Abyss feel like a piece of crap. Here's your paycheck.
Well, what about back in the day? So, I mean, was he always in Gorilla, or was he ever, you know, an agent during your run there, or was he always higher up, even, you know, by 1999 onwards?
Well, he dipped in and out of talent relations and other things in creative. I couldn't quite put a timeline on it, but he was always seemed to be in Gorilla. And then the only other place I ever seen Bruce working was when he was setting up pre-tapes or live interviews or shots like that. Same thing in TNA. Hey, this is the same guy that Vince Russo got a job for in TNA, and 2 weeks later, he took Vince Russo's job, politicking the Dixie Carter. So he's perfect for the wrestling business.
Okay, right. So very specifically your experiences with Bruce then, because obviously you'd see him in Gorilla for the most part, or maybe even pre-tapes. I mean, during like a 10-year career with WWE, you say that I didn't really speak to him or get to know him very much at all because I guess, you know, talent and office, never the twain shall meet for the most part.
Well, the only time I really sat down and met with him at length was when I was still in ECW and I was trying to decide going to WWF or WCW at the time. I went out to a place, some sushi restaurant or something, took me out, had the same off-putted attitude that I couldn't wait to get out of that restaurant. I do not like being around this dude. And I was naive as naive comes, and I wanted to go to WWF. And I still was like, in that sort of the experience with Bruce there, and knowing he was best friends with Paul, which also ruined, kind of made things stressful with Paul, because Paul had told me that some weird story like, oh, they don't want to meet with you. You need to come back home. So I called Bruce up and he goes, no, it's still on. So that was a weird dynamic right there. This is 1997, by the way, the height of the BWO, all that stuff. So when I went out to the sushi dinner with him, it was just very, very weird. I felt like when I asked questions that I wasn't allowed to ask the questions, that the answers I got were very half-hearted, like, how could you ask such a stupid question type. He felt very smug and condescending towards me. And I'm like, why would I want to be in this company when this is what's in charge of the company? And I just signed with WCW. I met with Vince too and sat down for a short time. And I wasn't getting any idea about what this company was about and what they wanted from me and all this. It was very weird. But the Bruce dinner, and I'm sure that ruined me with Bruce and buried me because I went to WCW. Because when I saw him twice in the airport during the TNA run. He completely, hey, Bruce, how you doing? In his chair at the gate. Then he directed a pre-tape about Sabu or something, and we were doing some match. Never made eye contact. Made an off remark about how I wasn't talented and I couldn't cut a promo or whatever. And anytime I was involved or said anything, Bruce turned his back to the pre-tape. Like, grow the F up, dude. What are you doing? But I was also, even then, I finished the pre-tape. I didn't even wait to get it approved in TNA. I was like, I got to get away from this guy. Every time I was around him, get me the F away from this dude. Couldn't, and I've been around, and there's been way too many people in the business where I got my spidey sense and I go, I got to get away from this person.
Were you ever wrong?
Was I ever wrong? No.
Yeah, when you got a spidey sense.
I have a great instinct for crappy people. I've been trained well for 31 years. And I'm not saying like, hey, well, by the way, there's people that have bad days. I've been there too. But I'm not talking about having a bad day and snap. So Punk snapped at me one time because him and Maria were having some kind of whatever. But we were friends and I understood. This is a consistent, purpose-driven or purposely done way of making people feel uncomfortable and less than and beneath you. And this segment with Abyss really does encapsulate, I think, the true nature of Bruce Prichard's personality.
I just wrote a few different things down. Yes, man. I don't know if con man's the right thing to say. I mean, I did put that down, but that's something you can say I'm wrong about. I don't know if what kind of boss he was, somebody who was nice to your face but then buries you behind the scenes, but it sounds like he wasn't even nice to your face.
If he wouldn't be nice to your face if you were beneath a certain point in the card. He was a spot picker like anybody else in wrestling. He's a bad boss, a bad leader, a bad example, and exactly what flourishes and has a 50 to 60 year career in the wrestling business.
And he knows where the bodies are buried.
That's where that's my morbid curiosity is, what does Bruce have on the people in power that he continues to get work.
Anything else to mention, or should we move on to the news?
No, I
then?
think I said it all, don't you? I think
I think you've said it all. That's fine.
hey, this is just me speaking from, if he treats, like I said, Bruce, you know what Bruce is? He's what thrives in the business. He's a bully. He wouldn't dare do that to somebody like Bob Holly or other people and talk that way to them or dress them down or be the whole way with because Bob would probably say, F you, I don't care. I know more than you do. I'm just bringing up a name, but I'm just saying he will pick his spot of who to treat, who he can afford to treat that way. And if somebody's above him, it's like, oh, you're the best, baby, hugging and kissing and all that stuff.
Let's move on to the news, and we've only got a couple of bits to talk about then.
Now, you got to put your last note in there that you put. I didn't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I actually got this off social media. Someone put a side-by-side of the photo. He hates Jerry Jarrett, or hated Jerry Jarrett more than anything. He kept bringing him up about what a liar Jerry Jarrett was. Imagine that. He's looking more like Jerry Jarrett every single year.
Oh, you mean aesthetically? I thought there were some Jerry Jarrett stories about the personality.
No. It's just that Bruce Prichard keeps going on about how Jerry Jarrett was never going to be the person to take over from Vince McMahon if Vince had been convicted of the steroid trial. Jerry Jarrett was never part of the WWF, on the creative team or anything like that. Well, he was, and he was the hand-picked successor. Or, at least in a temporary thing. And I was always wondering, is it just straight jealousy that Bruce wasn't, going to be the hand-picked successor?
Do you think it was in Bruce's way? Is that what you think it was?
I guess it kind of was. Yeah, and this is years after the fact on the podcast. I never bought that argument from Bruce that Jerry Jarrett was never this, he was never that. I think I've even asked Dutch, and Dutch was like, yeah, he was there. I know he was there. Because him and Jerry had been friends for decades. And I believe what Dutch says about Jerry than Bruce, who just seems to have... It almost seems like a really random axe to grind against Jerry.
I think it's professional. I think it's a little professional jealousy that this guy threatened his spot. Or maybe Jerry was closer to Vince than Bruce, and Bruce loved Vince like a father. And it's like that kind of sibling jealousy type thing. Even though Jerry probably had no idea what that was, what he was competing for.